You're getting older, Bob, like it or not, so why not plan for it now? Coming up, we'll have some tips to help you make your home livable at any age. Well, as we all age, we want to remain as independent as possible for as long as possible, which of course includes being able to stay in our own homes. Well, now a team of South Florida design students is helping to make that dream a little bit easier for all of us Americans. Joining me now is Merle. He's with the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, and your students have come up with simple designs to make that actually a little bit more realistic for folks who would otherwise have to go into nursing homes because their homes just really aren't adaptable to certain either disabilities that we have or illnesses or what have you.
Correct. For many Americans, the fact that you are disabled, either temporarily or permanently, a wheelchair, a walker, or a cane, may make your home impossible to stay in because your bedroom's on the second floor.
Right.
Can't climb those stairs. Even if you have a simple one knee replacement, could make it impossible. Or if you're in a wheelchair, the doors aren't wide enough. You have a step at the front door, you can't even get in.
Right.
So as interior designers, we're beginning to anticipate the fact that we have 80 million baby boomers retiring over the next 20 years who have the means, they're affluent enough to adapt their homes now to anticipate these changes so that should they become disabled, they don't end up being ripped out of their familiar environment, and they can stay in their home for as long as it's safe and enjoyable for them.
Well, that makes so much sense. And you say it really does begin with simple things like a doorknob.
Correct. If you are arthritic or have some type of other disability that prevents you from grasping a doorknob, simply replacing the doorknob with a lever will allow anyone to manipulate it. In fact, the Americans with Disabilities Act requires this type of knob in all commercial buildings. There is no law for residential as such yet, but the trend is people are already doing this because they see it so much easier.
Well, I tell you one thing, the good thing about being in Florida is not only the sunshine, of course, but the fact that many of our homes are ranch homes that don't have an upstairs and a downstairs. How, and we'll take a look at your designs in a moment, how expensive is it if you do live in, say, a two-story home to get either an elevator or one of those escalators that sort of traverses up the stairs?
Well, you have two situations. If you're planning new construction, it's absolutely cost-free to plan ahead. For example, an elevator, you could actually create a design so that you stack closets in critical locations on both floors.
Right.
And should you need an elevator in the future, you could have it installed at that time.
Okay.
If you're doing a what we call a renovation or a retrofit, it can be costly.
Right.
For example, widening doorways, widening hallways, that's prohibitive.
For wheelchairs and walkers and crutches and things.
The wheelchair needs 3 feet of width to comfortably maneuver and a 5-foot circle to turn around within. And a lot of homes just don't have that space.
Right, not to mention those little bikes, like the hover-rounds and stuff.
That's right, same
idea. Why don't you take a look at some of these drawings that you've brought with us?
Well, a project like this will demonstrate the ability for somebody in a wheelchair or a walker to have room to maneuver, and it doesn't mean the design has to be boring, it simply means you plan ahead. Also, for example, in a bathroom where we have grab rails, you don't have to install those grab rails early on.
Right.
If you simply put plywood reinforcing behind the drywall, in the future you'll be able to add the grab bars when and if you need them. Also, seat heights are several inches higher. The buzzword is comfort height. Kohler makes a toilet that the seat height is actually 2 inches higher than a conventional toilet.
Right.
If you're elderly or disabled or simply very tall, it's much easier if you have a higher toilet height.
Wow. And these are things that we might not ever think of. Jan, let's move over here.
Correct.
Here's another design. And I tell you one thing, not only are some people thinking about this for themselves when they get older, but moving a parent in with them rather than the nursing home.
Absolutely.
These people can't afford nursing homes in many cases.
Right.
Go ahead.
Multi-generational homes are becoming much more common. It goes back to the days when we lived on the family farm, where we had several generations all in one place. So here's a classic example, a small apartment about 1,000 square foot designed for an elderly couple, low maintenance surfaces. The flooring is all hard surface, no deep pile carpeting to get the wheels of a wheelchair caught up or a walker. So big open space, wide doorways that are unobstructed on both sides so that if you're in a wheelchair, you can move in, pass the door, close the door behind you, you're not bumping into furniture, you're not colliding with other occupants. closets that have two-story, lower hanging and upper hanging.
Right.
And generally wide open spaces, and especially if you can afford it, custom tailor the kitchen counters so that they're a little bit lower, 2 to 3 inches lower than the conventional height. But unfortunately, then a conventional dishwasher won't fit, so you have to make some adaptations. But
you really do. I tell you one thing, if nothing else, Jan, you really got my wheels turning and thinking about the future, which we all need to do.
Right.
Sometimes we get stuck in the here and now and we don't think ahead, and you really got our wheels turning, and I'm sure a lot of you too. So thank you for letting us sharing your designs with us. And Jan, once again, is with the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. For more information, you can log on to our website. It is nbc6.net. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly.